Welcome, friends, to another mobile edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. You know the drill. I'm a retired New York City police detective, and if you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Hey, today I want to talk to you about, this case we are well over 4 weeks. This is an excruciating wait to wait for the Moscow Police Department to come out with a person of interest, and I hate that word, a suspect, new evidence, anything autopsy related. And we've been just sitting here twiddling our thumbs, waiting patiently. It's just, if you're following this case, it's just so heart-wrenching. You think about the families, the victims' families, and what they're thinking. And I wanted to bring a live stream to you tonight with our good friend, the retired New York City Medical Examiner's Office Chief of Staff, Barbara Butcher. She is a legal medical death investigator, and I think tonight is going to be enlightening. It's going to be educating, because we, along with Ed Wallace, we are going to ask Barbara a lot of questions in regards to the coroner in Latah County, Kathy Mabut. She is, we know, a registered nurse, and also found out that she is also operating a law practice in the heart of Moscow. So concerning. There's a lot to talk about. But before I get into it, I want to say a special thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all of the folks who positively engage in not just this, but all of our live streams. We do appreciate you and your engagement. So thank you to the replay viewers, the channel members, the folks who get in and ask the tough questions. You guys are what makes this a great place. So I give thanks and praise to you. Ed Wallace will be with us tonight. He's a forensics expert. Thank you so much, Devon, for the $2 super sticker, $2 super chat. Boxing MMA is here. I want to say hello to a couple people. Susan Oliver, good to see you, Liza. Let's see. The difficult questions will be asked. Yeah, these are going to be some questions that we really need to have answers to. And when I don't have, listen, I'm not a forensics expert. I'm not a medical examiner. I don't work in the medical examiner's office, but my co-host, Trudy with the booty, good to see you. My co-host, Ed Wallace, worked in the New York City Medical Examiner's Office with Barbara Butcher, the chief of staff. That was his boss. He worked with Barbara together investigating deaths. So what great people to have, what two great people to have to ask the tough questions. Some of the questions like, hey, Barbara, will the tox reports, the toxicology reports, will they be important going forward when we get the results for them in this investigation? We heard the Latah County coroner say on a news program that she does not think that the tox reports will be relevant in the cause and manner and in this investigation. And I believe that's the furthest thing from the truth. And we're going to ask Ed and Barbara how crime scenes are worked. Are crime scenes worked from the outside in, or are they worked from the inside out? So those are a couple, just a small slither, a small piece of the questions that we're going to ask tonight. And we're also going to talk about the commingling of blood. with the perpetrator and the victims. We're going to talk about how that process works. And I think who better to hear it from than the actual people who know how it's done. So let me just go back and say hello to a couple of people. Xana, my good Irish friend, sends in a super sticker, $5.99. Thank you so much. Harlem Raiders, Pete Pranzo. That means Richella is here. Hello, boss. Tara Ellis, great to see you. Lexi, always great to see you. Traveling Teresa. Agati, thank you for joining. Brenda, always great to see you. Brenda, thank you for joining. Cherry Hill, Black Rose, Alicia B. Mark, good to see you, Mark, my good friend right here from Long Island, New York. Thank you for joining. Urban Infidel, good to see you from Brooklyn, New York. So yeah, Cecina and I, well, nope, I'm Italian, DutyRon. I know. Hi, Peach. Blue Peachy, good to see you. Hey, listen, I'm encouraging everybody here. There's, quite a few of us here tuned in. I'm encouraging you to go over to DutyRon.com where you could leave a question for tonight's show. If you have a question that's forensic related and autopsy/medical examiners related for our great guest, Barbara Butcher, if you have a question for the show, please put in the subject line questions for tonight's show or questions for medical examiner, medical examiner related. Barbara was the chief of staff at the New York City Medical Examiner's Office. And if you have any of these questions related to our show, go on to DutyRon.com and leave those questions. Don't wait till the last second, because if you wait, we're going to go live at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you send in those questions at like 7:30, 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock is the cutoff, an hour before, because an hour before we are going to be preparing for the show. So if you send in the questions last minute, if you're a Johnny come lately, or somebody that's a last minute, get your question in, we may miss it. So send it in before 7 p.m., an hour before, and I will go over time. I'll go over and look at those questions, and I'll jot them down, and we'll ask them. Good to see Ed Wallace in the chat. Liza Rowe is here. MT Gamer, Lori Blythe, good to see you. Hey guys, if you're experiencing any inclement weather and significant weather, be careful when you're traveling. If you're in a snowy area, Southwest 4x4, good to see you. Hi, Cecile, good to see you. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Right back to you. Hey, I want to make a mention about Christmas, right? A lot of us have family that we gather with, and friends and family, lots of people that come around during the Christmas holiday. But there is a significant amount of our community that may not have people that will be coming to visit them, or they'll be alone. If that affects any one of you guys or girls, please know that you can always reach out on our Discord group or through DutyRon.com, and in any of my various social medias. If you're feeling down and out, you can always reach out. I always have my phone with me during the holidays. It's I kind of put it down a little bit, but during the course of Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, I will be periodically looking at my phone. And if you need a Merry Christmas uplift or a little bit of a chit chat on social media, don't hesitate. I'm always, if I can, I will answer you. I will get to you and say Merry Christmas, or just to say hi. It makes a world of difference. Reach out and touch somebody. Call your friends. Call people who are going to be alone, and say hello to them. This holiday season, to a lot of us, is a joyous time, but to some people, and look at these 4 victims' families, they are in the worst state of affairs that you can ever imagine. You don't know what someone's going through, and let's just take the moment to reach out and touch a friend, or an online friend. So I think that's an important thing to get out there, and I just wanted to put that out. I'm also going to talk about briefly tonight with Ed Wallace. A lot of people reached out and said, DutyRon, what's your thoughts on the lead detective from Moscow, Idaho Police Department, having only 2 years of experience? A young man who is now the lead detective on a quadruple homicide. What's your thoughts on it? And people ask me that. I mean, I get lots of questions. And I want to say that, hey, if this person is qualified and has experience and is savvy and is a fast learner and knows how to handle an investigation, which I'm sure that the police chief didn't just say eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and then just assign somebody just randomly. I have to have faith that this person is the lead for a particular reason. Okay, I'm not going to be quick to jump on the pile and say that that was wrong and that's no good. I was concerned about it because I know at 2 years for me on the job, and I worked in the busiest police department, arguably in the United States, the New York City Police Department. At 2 years, I did know a lot, but I didn't know it all. That's for sure. And even with 20 years experience, I never knew it all because you learn something new every day. So, yes, concerning, but I won't Monday morning quarterback it and say, definitively, well, that's a bad move or a good move. I hope and pray that they put their best that they have on it. And know this, the lead investigator is not the only person leading the charge. You have backfill from the state, from the Idaho State Police, and you have backfill from the feds. 60 feds and a whole bunch of state detectives and 6 from that very small police department in Moscow. I think pooling together all of the combined experience, I think we'll be okay. Honey Hush, good to see you. Thank you. Yeah, Brenda, great comment. Lead detective is not doing it on his own. He has others with him working on the case. Abso-freaking-lutely. But I want, tonight we're going to get into a lot of areas. Elizabeth Gregory, nice to see you. Dawn Marie, thank you for being here. Maddie Boy Sully. Hey, listen, I want to say something. Dawn Marie, Maddie Boy Sully, and Diane B. blew my mind yesterday. My wife and I got a package from FedEx from Maddie Boy Sully, Dawn Marie, and Diane B for Christmas. And in that package was 2 glass hearts with pictures of my mom, who passed away recently, and more recently my mother-in-law, my wife's mother. There was 2 hearts, and they were 3D kind of like imaging inside these glass hearts, and you put them on a light source and it lights it up, and it was the most beautiful thing. I will post pictures in my Discord, and I'll also post pictures on my social media. It was the most heart, it tugged at our hearts, but it was the most mind-blowing thing that I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like it. And I want to say a special thank you to those 3 for thinking of that to send to my home. And, I know Diane is my neighbor across the street, so she gave them, where to send the package to. And it is just beautiful. I took pictures of it. I'll show you guys real quick here because this just was over the top, unbelievable. So here's one of the pictures, my mother-in-law and my wife in the heart, and then here's me and my mom. Now it sits on a stand, and a light goes up through the bottom, and when the light shines up through the bottom, it comes right through. And let me tell you, man, my wife and I were in tears looking at this thing, and I get choked up even talking about it. It was just a beautiful gesture from some really, really great people. So thank you so much for that. I also want to jump back into these University of Idaho students that were murdered. These 4 young 20 and 21-year-olds had their whole rest of their lives ahead of them, right? The conversation from Kaylee Goncalves' dad, Steve, there's so much stuff and so many things that are out there, right? Her father talked about the Latah County coroner, Kathy Mabut, disclosing information to Kaylee's 17-year-old sister in regards to the trauma that was inflicted on her body. Now, I never was able to get official confirmation from the police because the Moscow Police Department, they never confirmed this or denied it. But I don't see any upside to a family creating a story. So I have to believe the family here. I have to take the side of the family. Although, it sounds outrageous that a coroner would tell a 17-year-old over the telephone that your sister had gouges and really awful trauma to her body, and that her liver was punctured or perforated and torn. And this came out of Steve Goncalves' mouth on an interview. I'm not here to judge interviews. I'm not here to judge what was said and what wasn't said. But I have to say that that is concerning to me. And I am going to put Barbara Butcher on the spot tonight. I'm going to tell her that, listen, I have some tough questions for you, but I want to know what a professional from that field, how a professional from that field feels about that information being distributed via telephone to a 17-year-old who is in most states a minor. It's just very concerning, very, very concerning. I see Ed Wallace is in the chat. Let's highlight Ed. Lieutenant Pete, got your book. Thank you. Yes, I gave Pete and Richella your home address. So, as unprofessional as it is, there was never verification from her office. I think, as a matter of fact, I think the Latah County coroner may have denied it. If anybody in the chat has that proof of that or an article, send it to me over on DutyRon.com or on any of my social media. My Twitter is open. My Instagram is open. So you could send it to me on any of my social. If you could find that article, I tried to look for it, but I have a feeling I did read that they denied giving that information out. I could be wrong though, again, a real concerning thing to me. And there's multiple concerns that we're going to go over tonight. We're also going to talk with Ed Wallace, who is a crime scene unit expert. We're going to talk about the people and the investigators continually going back. We just saw how many here who are following me and following this case. How many watched the Brian Enton, the News Nation live stream we did 2 nights ago, where Brian Enton joined us? He was outside the home, and 2 investigators came with. One was holding a case, and this is after the police chief for Moscow went with all of his personnel, and some Idaho State Police were there as well, and they removed personal effects from the crime scene. Looks like a lot of you guys saw that, so thank you. It looked like, again, removing items and personal effects from a crime scene. I have never, in all of my years, ever seen anything like that. What I have seen in my years is if there's medication that's life, that's somebody needs to sustain their health, or is life threatening if they don't have the medicine. I've seen investigators, lead investigators or bosses, allow a detective to go in with instructions from the homeowner. Okay, my medication is in the cabinet above the sink. As long as that doesn't involve the crime scene, and that somebody wasn't, killed below that cabinet, and there wasn't a area that you couldn't get to. I have seen authorization to go in and get medication for somebody, but never have I ever seen a partial move out or partial removal of a personal effects when a crime scene is still active with the crime scene tape around it. So we're going to ask Ed Wallace tonight about that, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the multiple items that were removed from inside the crime scene on King Road. And Brian Enton was outside that King Road home just a couple of nights ago, and 2 detectives went in there with no PPE on. I thought I saw them step into booties, but when I looked at it again, I said, wait a minute, they didn't. So they didn't even put booties on. I thought that they did. They went into that crime scene and they were in there for 20 minutes or more, and then they left. And Brian Enton asked them, hey, what are you guys doing here? They didn't answer. I get that. But this is after personal effects were removed from that location. How troubling is that? I'm going to ask Ed, how troubling is that from a crime scene preservation perspective? How troubling is that if we get an arrest or multiple arrests of a guy or a girl or guys and girls, and a defense attorney looks at the cowboys that went in there, those 5, one guy with the hat, whoever they were, we don't know who they were. I am hoping and praying that they were bona fide law enforcement investigators. We never got confirmation from it. I even asked Brian Enton if he has an interview again to ask the question of who those 5 guys were. Like, I got to talk to Brian Enton private one-on-one, and I said, hey, please, could you ask the police chief or any official at the next time you have a chance to interview the POI or whoever, ask them who the hell those 5 people were. Like, I don't need their names, but what department did they represent? Were they feds? Were they locals? Were they state? Was it a PI? Were they PIs? Who were they? Why did they go in? They had nothing to collect evidence with. They didn't even have baggies with them. They just went in with their hands in their pockets and their head down with their hats down. By a show of hands in the chat, is anybody curious of why they went in there and what was the purpose and who were they? We don't need to know their names, but were they federal marshals? Were they state investigators? Were they crime scene guys? All concerning. So those are some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. And I want to encourage each and every one of you to go over to the video. You're going to be redirected to tonight's video, right? Teresa says it's none of our business. Guess what, Teresa? You are wrong. All they have to do is say, hey, those were law enforcement investigators. That's all. That doesn't compromise an investigation. So Teresa B., I say it's none of our business. It's none of our business what they did inside there. But the public and the media and us who are following it deserve them to say, hey, these are our investigators. Leave them alone. You don't need to question them. They were from the feds. Those were federal agents. That shuts this whole thing down. That shuts all of the questions down. So we don't need to know what they did in there, but we need to know who they were. Like, who are they representing? These are our tax dollars at work. This is an investigation that we're all paying for, whether you like it or not. Anyways, I'm going to jump off here. I just wanted to spend about a half hour with you guys. If you have questions for tonight's show, retired New York City Medical Examiner's Office Chief of Staff, Barbara Butcher, will be on with us. She's investigated thousands of death investigations. She's conducted thousands of as a legal medical death investigator, thousands of murder scenes. So who better than her and Ed Wallace to have on tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern? Natasha Richardson, good to see you. I don't know why you're leaving. I'm not done yet. Where are you going, Natasha? Hang out. Wait until the end. So tonight at 8 p.m., I'm just teasing. If you got to go, good to see you, Natasha. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, Ed Wallace and Barbara will join me for a live, interactive live stream. So we can speak about the forensics. We can speak about the medical examiner's autopsy and the results from the tox, why it's taking so long. Why is it taking so long for them to they just revealed the cause and manner of death, right? That's all that's been revealed, cause and manner of death. That's it. How important is those results from the tox? It's important. It's so important. It's important to know if these or one of these girls or any of these victims, Ethan obviously included, Ethan, Xana, separately in separate rooms, Maddie and Kaylee in another room. It's important to know, were they drugged to the point where they were unconscious and unable to wake up to fight this perpetrator off? Was one of them drugged and the rest not? If one victim has a particular drug in his or her system, that changes everything. Think about it. If one of these victims was slipped something at any location where they were partying, that changes everything. So for someone to say that these tox reports are insignificant to an investigation, I don't know where they studied investigations. But this is important. Anyways, much love and respect from my house to yours. As I always like to end these, God bless the world, God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, but especially all the victims of this horrific crime. These 4 victims and their families, we send them straight prayers and positive vibes. I hope to see each and every one of you tonight. If you can't make it, watch the replay, but you'll be sent over and redirected tonight's live stream. Give it a thumbs up. Give this video a thumbs up. Like and subscribe to Crime Time with DutyRon. Follow me on all things social media. One word, DutyRon. I'll see you tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Peace and love from DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Stand by for a note from our security detail.